welcome to the next episode of xCogTV, where we talk about everything that is challenging to the thought process and to think deeply upon and learn and find the ways and maybe operate on the edge of what challenges is how you think about things. We are actually sitting here today with a number of wonderful folks who are part of the Transhumanist group through the Meetup Group for the Toronto Transhumanists. And I was actually just saying to the group before we cut to live stream here is that unfortunately Christine, who is the group organizer, is suddenly come down ill this evening and didn't want to bring any of the cooties this way for the rest of us, and she's feeling a little rough. So the plan was to do an interview with her. We had a series of questions to talk about and get an intro to transhumanism and just represent a perspective, if it were, thinking of the new person that might be watching this to say, what is this all about? Where does this transhumanism thing come from? A lot of people have not heard of it, in fact. And anyone who has knows most people that do, but out there's an entire large group of people who really don't know much about it and sort of thinking, when it's those people finding a video online and researching about this, how could we best represent an introduction to give a bit of an idea about that? And that's what I had a few questions designed and that we were going to chat with Christine. Agah has volunteered to sit and have a chat with us about some of these questions. And then I thought what we could do is also, for everyone else who's sitting, please take part, offer suggestions, your ideas, because prior to the camera rolling, we had quite an interesting conversation going in at the back of the studio there with some really interesting and unique things that we're sharing. So there's where we're at, and we'll roll with it under those guidelines. And welcome, and thanks everybody for coming here today. Christine not being able to be here, and one of the goals of this first group meeting tonight is that to find some direction of individuals within the group. What did people want to give as input and help guide where this discussion goes as the group grows? I know that's what she wanted to talk about with each of you. We were here, Jan hosting of the studio here, and to shoot the video to put this on the xCogTV channel, and so that could be used for other folks to see what the group is about. And so really it's more your meeting, and we just were going to help facilitate and ask questions, interview style, to get that background and history of things out there. And so sort of that's where we're at. And then
I can explain a little bit about what we do and why are we here all together, and then get into the agendas that we're splitting it into.
Yeah, sure, that would be excellent. So, well, maybe that leads right into the first question about why are you interested in transhumanism and in a public forum like this?
Transhumanism, I think it's a very interesting platform to stimulating the imagination just to begin with. It offers a lot of different perspective to a lot of different ideas that used to be considered as science fiction. A lot of them are not science fiction anymore. But at the same time, it can be considered as a very ethical philosophy for a modern human being, in a sense that we are considering transhumanism, technology and science in any way helping the human being to improving their lives. So as we were talking about it, you can consider everybody a transhumanist because we are wearing clothes, we are drinking water that's been through a process, it's been cleaned up, we're using our phones, we're using different gadgets. But in a more specific sense, transhumanism addresses the future of humanity, how we can tackle the bigger challenges like death itself.
Or the prevention thereof?
Or the prevention, yeah, absolutely. Until we get to the point that we can live for, biologically for many, many, many years to come, or virtually into the virtual space by uploading information to our brain and downloading the information from our brain into the machine. So whatever you want to think about it in terms of specifics, they're all the continuation of the evolution of the effect of technology and science on human beings.
Okay, that's very cool. It makes me think of a conversation I was having with Jan a week or so ago, and we were talking about what is transhumanism. And I think for the new person watching, they might be wondering, okay, how exactly do you define it? And one of the examples that was given to me is, well, if you're wearing clothing, you're transhumanist, because that's a version of technology that is advanced beyond when we used to live in caves and we were naked back in millions of years ago. That's just one sort of example, but what do you think is transhumanism for the new person that would be watching this to try and find out more if they've come across this video? How would you say, what is transhumanism?
Again, I see transhumanism as a positive effect of technology on your life, on anybody's life, and this is the best time to get into it because you can actually see the actual applications for it. There are many devices that are helping people with disabilities, people with Alzheimer. They already getting a lot of help. Each one of us have our phones. Our phones are an extension of our memories. There are a lot of things that we don't have to memorize anymore because of our phones.
So anybody who has a mobile phone that keeps a phone number in the mobile phone, because that's how they call people now, and they no longer memorize numbers. When I was a kid, we memorized numbers for the rotary dial.
Exactly.
So anyone that's got a phone keeps their numbers in there, or a calculator. That's a transhumanist advance. That's part of transhumanism?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
So everybody on the planet.
Yes, and I think it's important that they recognize that, because then a lot of questions will come in the terms of, let's say, we decide as a human race that we don't want to die anymore when we have that option. But there are a lot of people who are against it because they're saying it's not natural or it goes against the will of God or anything like that. But at the same time, you see they take different medications or they're using, wheelchair or any kind of other devices to bettering their lives. Right. It's just a matter of really understand what's going on and what are the elements around you that you can benefit from. And really recognize that instead of being hypocrites, I guess.
So actually, just in the break point there, we had an excellent comment from one of the other members of the group. And Bruce, you had said you wanted to make a point Well,
the last comment was that. What was the last comment? About,
something
the will of God.
The will of God.
The will of God.
Yeah.
My comment was just I can't believe it's the will of God to believe in imaginary beings.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
I mean, the whole idea of, when you grow up, you sort of leave Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy behind. And then most people who are adults, most people on this planet at the moment, still believe in imaginary creatures. It's kind of ridiculous. They're still in that same mode.
Propagating.
If they were, if children grew up and they continue to believe in Santa Claus, we'd throw them in a loony bin.
Okay.
But because it's God, it's acceptable to believe in things that don't exist.
Okay, so it sounds like, if I understand, we've sort of jumped right into the religion discussion of is there really a God? That's what you're getting at.
I couldn't help myself to follow
We can't
on.
really avoid that, though.
Yeah.
We have to get into it.
It's part of the discussion.
Absolutely.
It suddenly becomes very, it could be very interesting.
See, in my case, it's not part of the discussion because I've long since dropped that. And it never really occurs to me to discuss it because it's just a fait accompli. It just doesn't make sense, any of that nonsense. And
But
there's 6 billion other people on the planet.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and you see, for example, Chinese, they're experimenting with, they sample 2,000 DNA samples from the smartest people in the world because they want to genetically modify their new generation just to be smarter and more...
Really?
Yeah.
The Chinese government or medical?
The Chinese government.
Really? I haven't heard of that.
So this can never happen in the United States because all the people are they have problem with abortion, so they would have problem with, interfering with God's will, the hand of God or whatever. You shouldn't change the fetus, you shouldn't change the baby or anything like that. What would be the result of that? That American kid will continue being left behind.
But you also have to be careful. Hitler was also doing that.
Hitler?
One second.
Yes, that's true too. That's the danger.
Yeah, there's
he was actually working on changing people by, actually making medical changes.
But I think
we had a eugenics comment.
Yes.
Eugenics was popular in Turkey, in the States, in the Nazi Germany, and in Russia.
Yeah.
So you can't say that the US wouldn't go. Eugenics was very popular in the States, and people thought in this direction as well. So that's.
We were saying
I think U.S. will be eventually motivated by the business of it, by the money, if they can, save or make more money. But until we get to that point, there will be a lot of, it's like legalizing marijuana. How ridiculous that is that we still have that discussion. But there are a lot of organizations against that because they're making their business out of being against it, or by selling another product, in this case being religion,
or running prisons.
Yeah, exactly. So I think religion is inevitable to talk about, because we get to a point that we are talking about very fundamental changes that we can make in the nature of what is to be a human. And there are a lot of people from the other side that they're not even willing to have the conversation because it just freaks them out.
Okay, so, would it be all right if we hold the religion discussion for a moment? Because that actually fits perfectly with a video that we saw yesterday, where religion is sort of attacked by somebody. So we can come back to that.
Is that Bill Maher and Sam Harris?
I forget the name of the gentleman who published it. No, it's a YouTuber who's published it. The video just went up yesterday, but it's got a religious component, and I thought to myself, that's going to challenge a lot of people. So if we can come back to that in a few moments. Did we get our eugenics comment?
Yeah.
Finalized, yeah?
I think that was sufficient.
Okay. What I really maybe wanted to do is just, again, look at where did transhumanism historically start from, because we asked that question, what is it? So really it's anything that's new technology that's enhanced or increased comfort and longevity of life.
Well, I think, since the time that we grab a branch of a tree to reach for a higher fruit, that's using the technology.
Right, using a tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, extension reach.
And that's the only difference that we have. We have a better imagination, and because we have more neurons in our brain, and we have the opposable thumbs, that we can actually create what we can imagine.
We have to remember that finches do that too.
Yes.
They'll take a spike and
That's transfincionism then.
Exactly.
Right.
So to me, the challenge is that we need to get away from being controlled by nature. That's my personal point of view, because I don't think nature is our friend when the tsunami is killing that many thousands of people in a split second. It's just a matter of being able to control every aspect of our lives and reaching to the Type 1 civilization. I can explain that if you want.
I'm familiar with Type 1 civilization, but that would be great because there'll be people watching this who are not. So yeah, from the transhumanist perspective, to get that Type 1 civilization, please.
So I think transhumanism is inevitable in order to get to that point, becoming a Type 1 civilization, which we are not. We're Type 0 because we're using dead animals and plants as a source of our energy. So when we can use the planetary resources, either as solar or wind as the main, or fusion as the main sources of our energy, we have reached the Type 1 civilization. And Type 2 will be solar civilization, that we're using the energy that we can get from our sun. And by that point, we're basically immortal. And then there's Type 3, which is apocalyptic.
Right. So I was also thinking when you said Type 1 civilization, you had a different definition than what I had learned and experienced, which was the evolution of our consciousness. So that consciousness is then evolved and integrated so that things such as war, and all of the challenges, basically, that represent the ego and conflict on the planet, those go away because we all realize we are all working together as one cohesive.
Yeah, but I think
species.
war has been a necessity, because you see a lot of technological advancement has been made because of wars. The U.S. went to the moon because there was a Soviet Union, and then they went to the moon and they beat Soviet, and then they didn't do anything. And we started talking about, let's go to the Mars because everybody else is catching up. China is sending a rover to the moon. India is sending an orbiter around Mars.
It's an economic necessity, really.
It's an economical
necessity. Most of the wars are being fought over making money.
Right.
Like the munitions dealers and manufacturers are the ones that want the war because it makes them rich. And, people who are in control like to be rich.
At the end of the day, it's...
Was there a question? No, that's Hey everybody, just wanted to let you know that tonight's meeting with the Toronto Transhumanist Group and our first recording of the meeting that we had went very, very long. So we actually have been talking for the last 3.5 hours. And I just wanted to let you know that the topics of conversation are so varied, from art to culture to religion to politics and everything about life and in between, and science and tech. And it's going to have to get cut down into, 2, 3, 4. Jan's going to work on it, a number of different segments. So check out the different segments, stick around, get through all of them, because the variety of information is just mind-blowing. And just wanted to let you know that. And look for the segment on the cutting room floor, because that's where things got to the weird part of YouTube. All right, hope you enjoyed these episodes. See you again next time. Hey, we hope that you and the 3 different parts of your brain found this interview to be thought-provoking, stimulating, and perhaps even irritating if you're working on growing yourself. If you have suggestions for interview topics, comments about specific videos, or would just like to reach out and say, hey, back at us, please connect with us at www.xCogTV.com. Again, that's www.xCogTV.com. This episode of xCogTV has been segmented into parts that will be published once the post-production editing work is complete for each part. So, subscribe now to the xCogTV channel. And additionally, in order to be notified of each new video upload, please make sure that you click the little gear ring icon beside the subscribed button and tick the box for send me updates. Be sure to save your settings, and then when we upload the next part of the video, you'll instantly get an email notification to let you know that the video is available for you to watch. If you enjoy our interviews and content, please tell your friends about us and send them a link so they can check us out too. And for those of you who took the extra 88 seconds to listen this far, thank you for listening to and watching xCogTV, where it's our passion to provide ideas and information that will make your neural synapses love, dance, jizz, vomit, or even melt down in childlike anger. Are we clear?